Thank you very much, everybody, for inviting me to this session. I've been really much looking forward to this. Already now, I can tell you, I won't be talking a lot about DevOps because I'm not an expert on DevOps. I am an expert on finding the right talent for your DevOps team. So that's really what I will be talking about this afternoon. And obviously also be talking a lot about neurodiversity. But I realized that I have about 45 seconds to catch your attention. Otherwise, you'll start checking your emails since this is actually a webinar. So I'll do my utmost to make this as exciting as at all possible. So I just put attention to, this is our logo, the dandelion. I'll be talking about dandelion management. And what is dandelion management? First, to think of I would like you all to think of a dandelion. So if I say a dandelion to you, what is the first thing that pops into your mind? If this was a real audience, I would look at all the hands raising, and I would probably pick one of you to give me an answer. But I've been asking this question so many times over the years. So I can easily tell you that if you are more than 25 years old, you will be thinking about these annoying little yellow flowers that are invading our lawns. And if you try to mow them, they will just flatten out and create big craters in your lawn. But if I invite you to think of go back to your childhood, go back to maybe you're 5, 6 years old, and then think again. Think of a dandelion. And what is the picture created, the image created in your minds? Well, I can answer for myself. When I was a kid, a dandelion was a flower, a beautiful flower that I could actually work with, I could play with, I could tease my my boys doing like this, or you could make like a headband with it. And actually, in the field of medicine, the dandelion is a quite well used flower for making various kinds of medicine. So it really comes down to where it is you need the dandelion. Do you need it in the middle of your lawn, or is it actually in your herb garden? So whether a dandelion is a weed or a herb depends totally on the setting. Me, for instance, put me in a football field, and I really suck at football. We're talking severe handicap here. I'm doing really poorly. And then again, if you place me in a tennis court, I actually tend to do quite well. So if you were to decide whether I am a great athlete, it would totally depend on whether you met me on the football field or if you saw me on the tennis court. And it's pretty much the same with the labor market. Because right now we have a labor market where we have decided that we all play football. That means that we miss out on all the talented rugby players, the talented tennis players, the talented table tennis players, because we have decided that this is how the labor market should be created. And that is why we came out about this idea about dandelion management. And if I tried the other day, I Googled dandelion management, and you get like 10,000 pages describing how to get rid of dandelions in your lawn. You have to scroll quite a bit down to actually find the actual article we wrote in Harvard Business Review 7 or 6 years back, dealing with how to manage neurodiverse people in your workforce. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. And I say that the nerds shall save the world. Why do you say that? Well, if you go back to 30 years, being a nerd was not really that positive. You were totally off. But today, when you say we need to nerd it a little bit, that actually means that you are able to focus and concentrate for more than 2 minutes at a time. So that's what it's like to be a nerd today. And that's actually one of the key advantages of autistic people, is that they are actually quite good at being very nerdy and being focused for a longer time than most people. So what I'll be talking about today is a bit about who we are, Specialisterne. I won't go much into that. And then I will talk a little bit also about what is neurodiversity, and then I will try to make it as relevant to you as at all possible. I'll try not to speak for more than 20 minutes because I'm really interested in hearing your questions because that's where the real education lies. So basically, I'll try to demystify the concept and to destigmatize the notion of working with autistic talent, because there are so many things out there that can go wrong, and we have so many opinions on why or why not to work with autistic talent. Briefly about us, we were founded back in 2003, Specialisterne, and we have so far managed to recruit more than 10,000 neurodivergent consultants, either for our own businesses or for other companies. Basically what we do, we run consultancies around the world, and all our consultants are neurodivergent. That would say they would be mainly autistic, but they could also have ADHD and other neurodivergent features. So basically we believe in a labor market where everybody should be able to participate. We believe that diversity creates the kind of environment, the kind of labor market that is needed to make our way into the next century. And we have an ambition about enabling 1 million jobs by 2030. We believe that if we calculate the catalytic effect we have had on other companies, we probably run up to about 100,000 now. So we are in a hurry, and that is why we need your help, and that is basically why I'm addressing you today. We have a worldwide presence. Everything was founded here in Denmark, where I am situated, but we now have operations in more than 20 countries, and you could say that the sun never goes down on Specialisterne. We have offices in all continents except Africa. We are right now in the process of setting up a new entity also in India. So I'm going to talk a little bit about autism spectrum disorder. So why is it even important? It is important because roughly 2% of world population has autism. That's quite a lot of people. That's more than 100 million people, and the number is growing. We don't know why you get autism, and we don't know why it is growing either. It's just a fact of life that this is how it is. And we're talking about neurodiversity. The neuroscientists have this idea that brains are differently wired. It's a part of our genetic code. If we all had the same genetic material, there would be a huge risk that we would actually become extinct. So our brains are differently wired, and some make great use of it. Others are facing difficulties about using it. And the thing is that actually most autistic people are actually quite well educated. They are from a cognitive perspective, they're doing quite well. They're from a IQ point of view, they are just like you and me. So they're either smarter, either less smart than the rest of us. But most of them are actually really, really motivated to work. And despite that fact, roughly 85% of autistic people are either unemployed or severely underemployed. I have a great mathematician in working with my staff. When he joined my company 5 months ago, he was delivering newspapers. Now, 4 months after, he was actually doing quite severe working with automation and working with AI for one of the largest Danish companies. And the only thing we did was invite him in, introduce him to the company as this is an autistic talent. That means you need to take some special things into consideration. If you do that, he will actually really excel and do well to your company. So why is this? Why is this the case? Well, the thing is that the way we recruit today is really filtering out quite a lot of the autistic talent. One reason for that is that autistic people tend to have difficulties in really understanding what it is you want from them. And quite a few of them are really poor at explaining to you what it is that they are good at. So if you ask an autistic person, what are you really good at? You might get an answer like, well, I'm quite good at showing up on time, or I know a lot about trains, the things that just pop into mind. You have to be really precise in the way you address the question if you want to get the proper answer. So the proper way of the traditional way of recruiting, where you write a cover letter and you add your CV, really does not work that well with autistic people. As a matter of fact, it doesn't work well with anybody. But anyway, it's been the way we've done things for many years. Another thing is that hiring managers tend to always hire Superman. You may always tend to go for these omnipotent job profiles where you need to be able to be a generalist and do a little bit of everything. And then you meet the autistic person and you might not get the handshake you expected. He might not look you straight in the eyes, and you might not get the right answers for your questions. For instance, the typical question, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? The typical autistic answer would be, well, I don't know. I might be sitting on a chair, or would that be during my lunch break, or what are you exactly talking about? So these abstract questions would fail in most job interviews if you are interviewing autistic people. So basically, the hiring manager would get this feeling, wait a minute, this is not what I expected. This guy is not quite normal. I'll hire someone else. And the fact is that very few managers are actually getting rewarded for taking chances. Very few managers are actually being rewarded for thinking out of the box. So we tend to go for safety. And what we do is we lose the specialist and we really miss out on diversity and inclusion. And what is it actually that we're missing? Well, normally when I say you met one person with autism, you have met one person with autism. So if I say to you, okay, think of an autistic person, what comes into your mind? And then again, I can't get your answers, but I've been doing this for quite a while. 9 out of 10, they think about Dustin Hoffman in Rain Man. And really, you could not be more wrong. There are very, very few Dustin Hoffman in the world. Most autistic people are, when they're in their comfort zone, like you and me, if they are in their comfort zone, you really wouldn't know the difference. The challenge with autistic talent is that their comfort zones differs from that of yours and mine. Where you and I would feel comfortable around a lot of people just improvising through the day, you know, taking the day as it comes. Most autistic people would find that very, very challenging. Whereas you give them like 10,000 lines of code to review, they would say, wow, this is a great task for me, let's get started. And they can work on continuously with no breaks for hours and hours. But some of the features that autistic talent is normally known for is their independent thinking, their abilities to think out of the box. They hate making mistakes, and if they can improve a process, they would tend to do so. Anyway, that's my experience. They often have excellent math and computer skills. They are often quite well oriented to details. They find the needle in the haystack, which I never find. And we often hear that, wow, your autistic consultants, they find errors that no one finds, and they actually find them quite quickly. And then again, their high level of perseverance, once they've set your mind to a task, if the task is well defined, they tend to be able to go on for quite a long time. Actually, Harvard Business Review made another study where they found out that autistic people solve problems roughly 60% faster than their neurotypical peers. That is, if the task is properly scoped. If it's not, it's a totally different situation. You also tend to get a quite high retention rate with autistic talent because they are quite often not that motivated by like careers and really, really high wages. A lot of people I meet, they really just need to be somewhere where they are actually able to contribute, somewhere where they can put their skills into use. And that makes them quite easy, quite difficult for your competitors to steal once you have successfully onboarded these people. Again, I'm talking stereotypes. No two autistic persons are the same, but we have to kind of, get an idea of what it is we're talking about. And this is the only slide where I will actually mention DevOps. And I know that I realize that there are many ways to describe DevOps. This is one of them. Just to give you a few examples, that if you skip the idea of only hiring omnipotent Superman, you could easily think that autistic talent could help you quite well in the testing area due to their attention to detail and their well-developed IT skills. Often, a lot of them are also brilliant coders. But if you should talk about where you would have like a true benefit, that would be in the testing area. They would tend to test very fast and find quite a few of the areas that most people would not find. I've had testers who were actually to review a code without even knowing what the code was supposed to do. Just looking at it, they could see what was wrong. And in the monitoring bit, obviously you have the compliance, the good pattern recognition skills brought into use there, and also in the operations phase, they are very, very good at performing repetitive tasks. So often you would find, and they would actually do quite fast. So those would be some of the areas where you, with success, could easily include autistic talent. So what would it be possible for you? What would be necessary for you to do? It would be necessary for you to stop focusing so much on the job profiles and focus more really on the tasks you need to have solved. You know, so maybe just skip the idea that all your employees should be capable of fulfilling any role in your company. Actually, in Denmark, there's a saying that you can have like many different balls in the air at the same time. I don't know if that's a saying in English, but think about Tiger Woods. I mean, he's probably poor at juggling with 3 balls, but he's very, very good with one ball at a time. So if you manage to create your jobs so that you actually can dribble with 1 ball at a time, you would be able to onboard a lot of fantastic talent that is not being put into use today. Besides that, most of your full stack developers, they probably hate testing. So why is it that you actually have to force them into do that testing? And yes, another thing, autistic people can easily work in an agile environment as long as you stick to your method. Obviously, sometimes people confuse agile with chaos, and autistic people can really not work in chaos, but no one can really work in chaos. So once your project is properly managed, you can easily include autistic talent in your agile setup. And a lot of people, autistic talent, they love working in Scrum because it's well defined. You know what to do. So that's no problem whatsoever. These are a few of the essential questions that I often get when I talk to companies about onboarding autistic talent. Some think, oh, wait a minute, it's too difficult to work with autistic people, and really, it's not. You need neurodiverse people. They prefer if you communicate clearly, so state your business without too many extra words, and you have to be good at defining the task that they should be working with. If you do so, you will find out that you will get a huge amount of prosperity out of working with autistic people. Another thing is that you think that neurodivergent people can only work with repetitive tasks. Again, I would say, no, that's not the case. I have a lot of neurodivergent autistic consultants who hate repetitive tasks, but for the reasons I've stated on the previous slide, they would tend to be actually better at it than their neurotypical peers. But it's not just they just love it. Another error is that people tend to think that neurodivergent people are difficult to communicate with. That's also not true. I would say about neurodivergent people, what you see is what you get. So you should be clear in your communication. You should try to avoid irony and sarcasm. Autistic people would tend to take what you say quite literally. I had a consultant once. I said, "Hey, have a great weekend," and then he looked at me and he said, "I really can't tell you. I'll let you know when we meet Monday morning." So you will get like this mirror telling you how good are you actually at communicating in a precise manner. So if you do so, it's actually quite easy to communicate with autistic people because they won't try to tell you something that is not true. They won't try to talk in manners that makes it difficult for you to grasp what's being said. Another question is, I meet a lot of companies who say, wow, this is fantastic. What a great work you're doing. Really fantastic that there are people like you out there. And then we say, okay, when should we start? And I get the answer, no, wait a minute. Well, actually, right now we don't have time for this because we are right in the middle of a transition, and no, we are totally not structured well enough to take on autistic colleagues. Then I usually say, well, there must be some part of the company that is not undergoing a transition, because in that, if not so, then you are actually in a real problem. Besides that, there is so much literature out there who can help you in how to get on with this project of onboarding autistic talent, and we would also be more than happy to help you on the way, on your journey. This is a case study we made from our Austrian office. They had onboarded autistic consultants for 9 or 10 companies, and then they did a survey where they interviewed the neurotypicals, that would be the one without a known diagnosis, about the effect that teams that had autistic colleagues had. And what it actually turned out was that 58% of the questions of the persons asked thought that the team atmosphere had actually improved after hiring onboarding autistic colleagues. 39% thought that the internal communications had improved. 40% felt that motivation and performance had gone up, and more than 32% thought that I could feel that there had actually been structural changes within the department as a result of onboarding new colleagues with autism. And obviously, maybe not so surprising, 68% had actually changed their attitudes toward autism, where they would probably find some kind of hesitation at the beginning. People would find it difficult, or they would have some kind of anxiety. Am I good at this? Am I able to work with autistic talent? Am I capable of managing autistic talent? And most people found out it's actually not that hard. It's not that difficult. So what are your gains as a company? Basically, you get access to untapped talent. 85% of 100 million people, actually quite a lot of people. And that's just to say that half of these people would fit into your company. So, I mean, there is a huge lack of talent in the IT sector. And I normally say that these people are the people who are closest to the labor market without ever getting there, except if you actually help them. So access to a huge amount of unused talent there. And obviously the chance for you to improve as a manager, because the skill set you need to develop as a manager in order to lead your autistic colleagues will have a huge positive effect on the rest of your team. So take on the challenge that you would gain as a manager, you would gain as a team. And obviously it would give you the opportunity to welcome a lot of people who really just want to contribute, to want to be a part of society. And right now they are let out because we have filtered them away due to the way we have designed our places of work. So what would be relevant next steps for you guys? Well, as I said, you should rethink your job roles. Stop hiring Superman. Break your job descriptions down into easily managed tasks. That would make it a lot easier to onboard autistic talent. Then you should really review your recruiting process. You should find another way of onboarding. We can help you with that. We have developed methods. It's all accessible on the internet, but otherwise give me a call. I will help you on the way. Then you should probably set up some kind of support circles. It's quite important for your autistic colleagues that they have a person to turn to if they for some reason are missing out on some kind of information, some kind of communication. Actually, that's quite a good idea for all your employees, but it's an especially good idea for your autistic colleagues. And then you should work on cultivating the right working environment. You should do that anyhow, but when we're talking autistic people, it could, for instance, be allowing them to work with their headsets on if they are getting disturbed by the noise. Maybe allowing, if you have free seating in your organization, maybe allowing your autistic colleagues to actually have a fixed seat, maybe letting them decide which seat to sit on in the room. Sometimes it would be allowing them to work in odd hours. Respect the fact that sometimes autistic people would work a lot faster, but then maybe they would have the need for a break every once in a while. So if you manage to do these things, I can assure you that you would actually be doing quite well onboarding autistic talent in your organization. That is basically the presentation I prepared for you. So now I'll be more than happy to take on your questions.
Yes, we have one question that has come up, and that is if is Specialisterne presented in Sweden?
We don't currently have an office in Sweden, but I am in Copenhagen, and I could easily help you out also in Sweden. So give me a call. We don't have an office in Sweden at the moment, but it is our ambition to be working out of old Scandinavian within a year or two.
Okay.
And we are doing projects in Sweden, by the way, but we're doing it out of our Copenhagen office. I'm doing a large presentation with Massive in Malmö next week, for instance.
It's another good question here in the chat, and that is, do you have any tips or tricks from the work with neurodivergent people that can apply to improve the way we work in all teams?
Well, basically, the best thing you can do is to be very clear in your communications and have the roles very well defined, so that your autistic talent knows exactly what to do, and break it into small bits, basically. And if you should change the scope, then give them a fair warning. That would be my best tip.
All right, thank you. We have some more questions. We have one from John Bishop. He would like to know, how do you, whoops, the question skipped out. How do you think an autistic person would find working at a smaller company?
That is actually no problem. Most of the people that we have onboarded in Denmark are actually working in smaller companies. I mean, the rules that apply for large organizations are the same that applies for small organizations. Obviously, if you're working in a very small organization, you would normally need to be able to fulfill more different job roles. That could be the only challenge seen from my perspective. I saw one question mentioning Unicus up there. Unicus is an IT consultancy who only feature autistic talent. They are based in Norway, in Sweden, and in Finland. They got all their IP from us, and they were part of the original Specialisterne group. They are an independent company right now, and they only do consultancy, and they only do work with their own consultants. But we are in a great collaboration with them. So, but from a recruiting perspective, it would be us you have to turn to. But if you just want to hire consultants with autism, you should definitely turn to Unicus. If you are outside of Denmark, obviously.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that was an excellent answer to that question.
No worries.
The next question is, first of all, Mikko likes to say thanks for the presentation. It was a good presentation. And he follows with this question. If you would like to summarize in short, what is the biggest gain to hire an autistic person? And he would like you to give some selling points for him to use with higher management. So what are the selling points?
Well, the first would be that you can't find them in your home country. Anyway, that's the case for Denmark. I mean, there is a huge lack of qualified talent in the market. We have access to this pool of talent. They are unemployed. They need work. Further to that, you'll get very, very loyal employees. They won't run off. They are not focused on high wages and career management. So you would find a much higher retention rate with your autistic colleagues than with your non-autistic colleagues. The third one would be that you would get totally new dynamics within your team because of your onboarding new colleagues. You would find that the team coherence will improve in your company if you do it well. Or give me a call. I'll help you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Jari, could you please help me with some questions as well?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So a little bit about the Lauri is asking that can you talk about the experience applying the dandelion principle across departments and organizations? He has seen your the article from the MIT Sloan already. So, but can you please give us a couple of hints and tips for applying the principle across departments and organizations?
We have actually managed to implement the dandelion principle in quite a few companies. We've been working intensely with SAP over the years. We have done a lot of work with Microsoft, and they have invented their own. They have adapted the dandelion method to their special way of working. We are right now setting up a global project with IBM, also realizing the fact that this is a huge talent pool of untapped talent that they need to look into. And more companies want to turn themselves into being neurodivergent companies because they know that neurodiversity creates creativity, really, thinking out of the box, which is really what is needed for in the labor market of tomorrow. I don't know if that answered the question. Otherwise, I apologize for that.
I think that it was pretty much spot on as far as I understood the question as well, what Lauri was putting over here. Let me see. Okay, the Unicus, the partner company that you have been dealing with, there's a lot of good praise for those guys over there.
Yeah, they're doing a great work.
Yeah. Okay, so there is from Jan Krat. So how do we industry avoid all those benefits, retention rate, availability, unemployment, leading to underpayment of this target group, using them as a kind of cheap labor? How you tackle that?
First of all, you should not consider autistic people cheap labor. You should consider autistic people good value on productivity. I mean, JP Morgan, who onboarded more than 200 people with autism, they did their own external investigation and found out that their neurodiverse peers were 60% faster than their neurotypical peers, and they got exactly the same wage. So I would never tell you to go and underpay autistic talent. No, never ever. I'm just saying they wouldn't come running every second day asking for a raise. That's my experience. But you shouldn't hire them because they are underpaid, and you should never underpay anybody, for that matter. Yeah. And we don't, by the way.
Yeah. No, that's good. We have a question from Pablo Molina también. He says that, is it about making autistic personalities feel secure and safe? Is that a main thing for everyone to work on?
Yes. I mean, safety and security is paramount for everybody. The thing is that what it takes to create a safe work environment, that differs from person to person. But my experience is that if you curve the gap, if you build the bridge, probably even just the fact that you are addressing an employer, say, hi, this is Jonas. Jonas has autism. That means he might not look in your eye. He does not feel that it's important for him to say hello or good day and goodbye. But he's really well at his work. So if you accept these features, Jonas is a great guy for your company. And then the hiring manager would say, hey, wait a minute, fantastic. Hello, Jonas. And then instead of being the odd one out, he would be seen as the exotic guy who is really good at doing specific tasks. So it's really very much in the translation. If you know what it is you're dealing with, and that goes both ways, then you have overcome, I would say, 75 to 80% of the struggle.
One more question. Yeah, one more question from Francesco Montesano. You talked about employing neurodivergent people as consultants. So in his experience, consultancy requires actively working and discussing with the clients, so to work out and implement solutions. So how would they fare with such kind of a job?
As I said earlier on, no two autistic talent are the same. I could find consultants for you that would do very well on that task, but most people on the autism spectrum would be more hesitant with that. So you will probably on your team find that your autistic talent would normally be more introvert. They would be perfectly well at communicating, but they might not always be very good at upselling as consultants. So you need to take that into consideration. But you know, as good, solid working labor, they would do just fine. And that they can easily, most of them can easily communicate with the customer as long as the framework is set.